Hey everyone, welcome to the final Arcanist Grim Dawn skill video, and in this video we are looking at the 2 defensive abilities, the 2 toggle passive exclusive skills, and then the 4 passive skills and nullification at the bottom of the tree. I'm just combining all these together in one long kind of vloggy video because you can't really get footage of these. Their synergies are more like they synergize with everything. They don't have sets really associated to them, and I mean they're passives. You can't really record passives. So I'll just talk about each one in turn, starting with Mirror of Aractes. In an instant, the air around you becomes hard as stone, absorbing all manner of attacks and reflecting them back at the attacker. A favorite technique of Master Aractes. So, Mirror of Aractes is your classic poopy button. You press it, you get 100% damage absorption for 3 seconds. That damage is reflected at enemies, but that's not why you're using it. And then it goes on cooldown. This ability, you generally... It's either going to be a 1-point wonder, and it's going to have a high cooldown, or you're going to have it like this setup, where you get it to 12 out of 12. Don't let it go above 12 out of 12, because you get no returns on it for its cooldown reduction, because that's when it stops. And you have it as a lower cooldown ability. So those are my 2 modes I recommend it in, and you pretty much just are like, oh no, I'm being attacked, pop it, and you're safe for 3 seconds. And you can use those 3 seconds to save your life, or you can use them to lead in and not take the damage and just kill everything while you're invulnerable. Myvan's Sphere of Protection, a rare defensive technique of arcane magic invented by the revered Arcanist Myvan. Creates a protective shield around the caster, but at great cost in concentration. This ability must be toggled to maintain its effect. So we got a toggle passive here. When we turn it on, it is that one. No, that one. You get the sphere around you with all these like arcane symbols floating around you. And what this does, for an active energy cost per second, which is pretty much mitigated by being an Arcanist, you get 20% damage absorption out of 12 out of 12. Your total damage is reduced by 8%, and there's a 7% physical damage reduction. So, the 3 things about this ability. The first is the damage absorption. And I recommend, like Mirror of Aractes, getting this to 12 out of 12. Once it's at 12 out of 12, you just maintain it at that level, because it gets huge diminishing returns above that. You can use your spare points that you'll get from plus skills applied to this for other things. So having 20% damage absorption is essentially having like 20% to all resistances, even physical. It's a huge amount of damage absorption, and this is one of the main reasons people love the Arcanist, is you throw this on, and you can practically walk into ultimate in crap gear. Myvan's Sphere of Protection is amazing. Yeah, you take the total damage modifier loss, but it's so small you'll never notice it. Now the physical damage reduction you might, because what this will do is, this physical damage reduction is not like, oh, it's minus 7%. No, it is a 7% reduction to all of your physical damage, period. Like, it's 7% sort of like outside the parentheses of the physical damage equation. Not only your physical damage, but also your physical conversion. So physical to elemental conversion would be hugely affected by this. A lot of people think it's too heavy-handed, but to me, even though it is a lot of damage shaved off, I don't think it's that much, honestly. I don't think it's so much that you're going to be concerned about it in the long term. Myvan's Sphere of Protection has 1 modifier. Conversion. The sphere absorbs harmful debilitating effects and converts them into your energy reserves. So this gives you energy absorbed from enemy spells. So if an enemy hits you with a spell, you'll gain energy based off of the cost of that spell, I think. You'll get a tiny bit of energy returned when you're hit by things. But that's not the reason you pick this up. You pick this up as a 1-point wonder, almost always, to get the 20%, well, in this case it's 20% because he has 6 thanks to his plus skills, to get the percent reductions to stun, freeze, petrify, and slow. A really solid ability to get, to just make Myvan's Sphere even more attractive and even better. Not much more else to say about it. It's one of my favorite abilities in the game, despite its, being a toggled passive. And I highly recommend anyone going into the Arcanist pick it up. So, Reckless Power. Turn your body into a conduit of aether, manifesting terrifying arcane energies through your mortal form that ignite the air and send ripples through reality. This ability must be toggled to maintain its effect. Exclusive skill. Only one exclusive skill can be active at any one time. So Reckless Power is the Aether Fire passive ability in the game. It's your go-to for Aether and Fire damage, both as percents. You'll also get flat Aether damage and percent burn damage. You'll convert physical damage to Aether damage. You gain casting speed and Fire Retaliation. So this passive is your go-to if you're running Kalidor's Tempest, Alberic's Aether Ray, Devastation. If you're doing the Sorcerer with a Fire combination, you might want to look into picking this up, especially if you're doing something like Blackwater Cocktail to increase your casting speed on it. Also, you're going to convert physical to Aether, so if you're doing an Aether-centric Battle Mage, you might want to consider picking this ability up as well. Also, for your Warrior Mage types, the flat Aether damage affects your weapon attacks, as does, your percentages here as well. I mean, it's pretty standard. It's, I can't really think of anything else to say about it. It's a really nice ability. That bonus casting speed, though, I would recommend if you hit your casting speed cap to maybe not invest as much in it. Like, this guy obviously hasn't invested to 200% yet, but turn this on, we're almost at 200% casting speed. So I would actually recommend dropping this below cap simply because of that. Otherwise you're just getting, damage out of it. So I would recommend running this at 12 out of 12 or lower depending on the amount of casting speed you've stacked already. Because I think for this ability and for Star Pact, you're more coming to it for the casting speed and the skill cooldown reduction, respectively. And speaking of Star Pact, many Arcanists sacrifice much in the pursuit of limitless power. There are some who do not heed the ancient warnings and tap into the sources of power that others would consider unsafe or even unnatural. It is these Arcanists that strike fear into the hearts of lesser mortals. Toggle exclusive skill, blah blah blah. You'll gain Frostburn damage, flat Frostburn damage, percent cold, lightning, Frostburn, and electrocute damages. You'll convert physical to cold damage, and you'll get some skill cooldown reduction. Now, the skill cooldown reduction is 1% per point up to 12 out of 12, and then I believe it alternates from level 11 on. So for this, I do recommend overcapping it, and trying to get to 13. Like, I think it's odd numbers after 12 will give you the percent cooldown reduction. It's one of these things to keep in mind with this is to actually gear it towards that, because damage is damage. And yeah, the cold lightning and the frostburn electrocute, pretty much, I mean, it's 4 Trojan Sky Shards builds, it's 4 Druid builds, it's 4 Spellbreaker builds. But the main thing you're going to go for if you're going for Star Pact is that cooldown reduction, and you generally want to point this out towards getting that. So if you can get to level 13, if you can get to level 15, then go for it. Otherwise, don't have it at like 14, just my opinion. Don't have it at 16. Like, go for those specific capstone levels when you overcap this to get more skill cooldown reduction out of it. And of course, physical damage converted to cold battle mage, spellbreakers. Pretty standard at this point for me to say what to go for conversion. Oh yeah, and sorcerers get benefits out of this with like Stunjacks or Skyfire or whatever. So, Inner Focus. This is probably the most amazing passive in the game. This and Military Conditioning are amazing. Percent Spirit, it's good. Not gonna lie, it's good. It'll help you get more damage out of your non-physical damage types, your non-pierce damage types, your non-internal trauma damage types. But man, this percent offensive ability, it's just awesome. Like, percent offensive ability is amazing. Oh yeah, focusing the mind and body into a locus for arcane energies is one of the first meditative techniques taught to aspiring arcanists. And yeah, I capped this out. I let it overcap. I think every single build I do that goes to the Arcanist caps this ability out. Percent spirit, percent offensive ability, just amazing. Amazing as a passive. And like I said, only military conditioning and its huge amount of health it gives you, I think rivals this passive in terms of awesomeness. So, Arcane Will. Adrenaline is a powerful force in dire situations that can turn the tide of combat. Battle Arcanists learn to use this to their advantage. So, when your health drops below 70%, more or less right where the health bar goes into the slope, this ability triggers. It gives you a giant chunk of percent all damage and a giant chunk of flat energy regen. This is super helpful for pretty much everyone because it affects all damage types. Physical, pierce, internal trauma, all the elementals, aether, chaos, vitality, poison. Yeah, I think if you're an Arcanist, if you're playing the Arcanist, you just come in here, and believe it or not, this character has 1 point dipped in this, and he got to 10 out of 10 with it. So for the Albrecht's Aether Ray Arcanist, this nice little burst can help mitigate his energy costs from the Aether Ray, in addition giving him a huge boost to his damages. I recommend this as a 1 point wonder, pretty much for all Arcanist combinations, because 1 point will give you a giant bonus when you drop below 70% health, and believe me, that's quite common to happen. Like, dropping below 70% health is normal, I think, in this game. So you're pretty much going to have this up all the time. Especially if you have any cooldown reduction, because you'll get it under the recharge under its duration. Nullification. Concentrates massive amounts of negative energy within the target area, purging all enemies caught within it of beneficial auras and spells, while allies are purged of negative ailments, including damage over time effects. So, Nullification is another 1 point wonder. And I don't see any value in actually going beyond that. Like, maybe to reduce its cooldown, but I've never found that to be an issue. Nullification, you want 1 point in it because you'll run into those heroes that have some sort of aura on them that's detrimental to you. You know, burning, they have that fire thing around them. I think Moneybags Martin has like this ability on him that's really difficult to deal with, and probably the most common enemy to target with this is Cronley, because he'll put up his little sphere that absorbs all damage, and Nullification, you just put it on him and he's done. You just take away his main line of defense and then you can wail on him. It does reduce the enemy's elemental damage for a short period of time, and that's helpful, I guess, but I don't use it for that. I use it for like I use it for those heroes with those effects on them, and you just tap them with it, it's gone, then you can make the fight so much easier. So, Mental Alacrity. Master Arcanists learn to channel their powers with great speed and concentration, no longer concerned by the paltry limitations of the mind. So, Mental Alacrity gives you bonus casting speed while reducing skill energy costs. This ability, I recommend it as a 1 pointer, and I don't recommend overcapping it. It kind of has severe diminishing returns when you get it to level 11. So if you want to focus on it, get it to 10, keep it at 10. If you're running a build, so like I showed off that Druid build, and that Druid build's all cooldown based. I think he has 1 point in this for the Chain Lightning now, but before that Chain Lightning existed, I just skipped this ability. Generally speaking, you're only going to be using it if you're running like Panetti's or Albrecht's Aether Ray or Calidor's Tempest, the things that are spammable that you want to spam faster but not hurt your energy as much. So dinging a point in this for those 3 builds is really solid. Taking it to 10 out of 10 also works really well, but beyond 10, don't put any points into it. Fabric of Reality. Unravel the secrets of the very fabric of reality. The raw powers of the Aether and the Void become as playthings to you. So close to reading all those without flubbing them. Anyways, this gives you just percent Aether damage, percent Chaos damage, and energy leech. Not that sexy. It's very, very build specific. Pretty much you're going for this if you're, an Albrecht's Aether Ray character. Maybe if you're Pernetti's character, you'll throw a point in this. And maybe if you're doing a Warlock, you put a point in this as well, if you go this deep into the Arcanist tree. Otherwise, I actually don't recommend building around it. There might be something to putting a lot of points in it and really, really overcapping it for a lot of Aether or Chaos damage. But just in general, I just say 1 point it. It needs, I think, something else on it to make it really, really attractive to invest in. Like, Mental Alacrity, just on its own, is actually some really great stuff. It's casting speed, which everyone loves to have for casting things, obviously. And then the skill cooldown, or skill cost reduction, really, really solid for the expensive Arcanist abilities like Albrecht's Aether Ray. Fabric of Reality, though, doesn't have anything like that. Just percent damages, like, it's French vanilla. Yeah, it's good, but it's not, like, good enough. It's not great. So yeah, 1 point in this is fine. If you really have to put extra points in it, I'd say get it to cap and leave it. But otherwise just single pointed if you're using those damage types. Avoid it if you're not. Alrighty, I think we've covered every single ability in the Arcanist tree in these Grim Dawn skill videos. I can finally move on. It's my favorite class, so I mean, it's pretty much to be expected that I'm gonna cover all of it before I even cover, like, multiple abilities in the other classes. So thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you guys have been enjoying these videos. Please check out my Patreon, link in the description below, URL on screen as usual. And I will see you guys next time for another Grim Dawn skill video.